Welcome to our Calvary Chapel family. We have updates regarding the governor's latest announcement today and for our church service that will start next Sunday, which is actually the 24th. So the governor's announcement made it available for houses of worship to open during phase one, which relates to us. But we wanted to update you on what we are going to and not going to be able to do. We're still planning on having the service in the parking lot as we previously planned. The question is why. There's a lot of details in that, which I'm not going to go through in all in this video, but some basic things is the restrictions still put us in an unworkable situation for our building and the size of our congregation and how that would be managed. Second of all, the restrictions do not allow for any child care. We need to make our decisions based on the danger of the virus and the protection for the more vulnerable people within our congregation, which is a large population of our church community. So we understand and we see our biblical mandate for the protection of people much more important and believe that that overrides our legal allowance for how we operate as a church and what we may be allowed to do. I hope you understand in that way that we are trying to make the best decision for everybody, and also as pastors we care for the vulnerability of people within the congregation. Pastor Randy's mentioned in the past how we have a large parking lot, and I know that in the past, even prior to this virus, he's talked about the advantage of maybe having an outdoor service, so now's the time for testing that anyways. So until the mass restrictions loosen up more and it makes it workable for us with the size of our building and the congregation that we have, we will continue to have the outdoor services in the parking lot, and so we'll see how that goes this first Sunday. We ask that you arrive 15 minutes early at least so that you can park and be set for the start of the service at 10 o'clock. We ask that you follow the usher's directions. If any of you have ever been to a drive-in, if you're that old, we're basically going to set up the cars like that. The ushers will line up cars in front of the cones, and then there'll be a gap between the cars, and then it'll be just one car in back of another, only there'll be the allowance for people to drive into a lane when it's time to leave. We have two FM radio transmitters, and they broadcast to about the size of the parking lot or so. They're legal transmitters, which means that they're not very powerful, but they do meet the FCC requirements and are certified. So we have set the tune and tuned them to two different stations, which would be FM 89.7 and FM 90.1, whichever one you feel comes in better based on where you're parked in the parking lot, then you can use those stations and be ready to listen. Please keep your windows up during the broadcast, because if people have their radios on loud, it's going to just step on the car next to them. Again, it'd be no different than being at a drive-in. We are going to keep cars probably about 8 feet apart, so there will be some allowance there, but it would be better to have your windows up so that there won't be a reverberation and echo throughout the parking lot and make it difficult for people to hear. Now, because of the allowance with the governor, the bathrooms in the church will be open for use. For adults, the men's and women's room on the side of the office on the right side of the building, those bathrooms will be accessible, and everybody will enter through, that needs to use them, will enter through the bookstore entrance on the right of the building. The doors will all be open for you. Please, we ask that, first of all, you line up 6 feet apart outside the building, and then the ushers will guide you in when the next person is allowed in. You need a mask to come into the building. You won't be allowed in without a mask. We're not going to allow any more than 2 people in a restroom at one time. Again, there'll be ushers outside the restrooms in case there is any issue or if you have a concern. Now, as far as children, we ask that you bring children in through the Calvary Chapel Academy or the school doors that are on the left front of the building. Adults can certainly accompany their children if they desire to do that. If your child's old enough, then you may not feel that requirement. The law is that children that are over 5 years old must have a mask when coming into the building. So we would ask that you would give them a mask. If they are between 2 and 5, that is the parent's prerogative according to the law. And again, we're going to have no more than 2 people, whether that's a parent and a child, or if it's a parent and a couple of children. As long as they're all your children, you can be in the bathroom with them on the child side. And then again, the ushers will direct you and answer any questions you have. As far as the offering, we know that there are still some people that don't mail their offering in or use Easy Tithe. And so at the beginning of the service, you'll be directed, if you do have an offering, to put your lights on, and we'll have some folks come out to the car and you can put your offering in the bucket. We ask that you put it in an envelope with your name on it, so that everything is sealed up, and then that should be pretty quick and painless. And then when you exit at the end, initially we were going to have people exit through the rear lot as well as the front, but at this point we're just going to have everybody exit through the front of the lot. We're not going to open up the rear at this time. So we ask that you again follow the usher's instructions. They will lead each line of cars out through the front of the lot, and then you can head on either up to the lights or across the parking lot to the other side. As far as fellowship, if you desire to remain in the parking lot and have fellowship after the service, please let all the cars exit first before you start getting out. We don't want to cause any safety issues. We don't want the ushers distracted or anything like that. We want them to be able to focus on what they're doing, especially at this point, because this is all brand new to us. So after everybody's gone, or it looks like for the most part, everybody that's leaving has left. And if you want to hang out and fellowship with other people, we ask that you still remain socially distant with your masks and 6 feet apart. And finally, if it is going to rain, if there is rain in the forecast, we will not have the service in the parking lot. Pastor Randy will put it online, as he has been doing, on our YouTube channel. So each Saturday night, what we will do is we will post on our webpage, on the front page of the webpage, on the Instagram account that we have, on the Facebook account, and then also on the church phone, that we either do or do not have a plan for service the next day. Now, if the weather's iffy, we're going to have to make that call relatively late in the day, so please check the social media as well as the church phone if you don't have social media. And as far as that goes, we will make a decision on that the best we can based on the time. But the information will be there by Saturday evening, whether we are or are not going to have a service the following day in the parking lot. Now, if you do not have, or if Pastor Scott Greenberg does not have your email address, we ask that you call the church and then leave a message with your email address, and he will put you on his email list. He sends out weekly updates and everything else regarding what's going on, where we're at, and he can put you on his email list, but he just needs to have your email address at this point. I know he's got hundreds of people at this point, but there's always room for a few more. So, look, we really appreciate you complying with this. We know that it's difficult. We're looking forward to get back together with everybody at the same time. We know we need to ease into it because as much as there is a legal issue here and a phased opening, our main concern is the security and the safety of you. So especially those of you who are older or more vulnerable for whatever reason. And hey, some of us fall into that vulnerable category. So we're doing things the best we can. We're praying about it. We're trying to use the wisdom that God has provided us and following the instruction in His Word regarding accommodation with not only pastoral care, but how we need to obey the law, like Romans 13 says. So with that, we hope that everything will be successful. We pray that the Lord is going to be with us through it. And again, as I always say, may God richly bless you as you continue to study His Word.